truth. Bring it on.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Do you want the whole truth?
I don't think you're ready.
Governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
It's Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Here comes the truth.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We're glad you're here, right here on the AFR Talk Network. I'm Crane Durham. This is Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Great to be with you. Happy Monday. Don't have a case of them. Let's get to Governor Mary Fallin, Oklahoma, being asked about, well, the Chris Lane murder and if the president should speak out. She was asked yesterday by Fox News Sunday's Chris Wallace. Roll it.
Governor, do you think the president should speak out on this as well, particularly given his involvement in the Trayvon Martin case?
I think it would be a nice gesture for him to do that, and especially since the country of Australia has expressed their sentiments as to the murder itself. You know, I think it would be a nice gesture for them to be able to do that, and I certainly know that's what I'm going to do.
It seems interesting to me, and I think so many others, that the president will jump in and throw himself into a case where he can call the cops acted stupidly and then have to have a beer summit. He has a Department of Justice that has abandoned its race-neutral policy. And then with Trayvon Martin, he invokes and puts himself in there by saying, if I had a son, it'd look like Trayvon. By the way, the Trayvon Martin killing, while tragic, absolutely, and George Zimmerman's exoneration or being found not guilty is the appropriate decision. But Colin Powell doesn't think that way. Bottom of the hour, we're going to go to the discussion over the weekend due to the commemoration of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, one of the best. We got some of the worst in the form of Al Sharpton, and I'll explain that. We will also tackle where we are right now in the sense of being equal under law, and if equality under law will always bring a charge of discrimination because we won't have equal outcomes. We'll discuss that, okay? And take your calls. But first, let's go to the story that everybody is speaking about, and we have been on since they started using them, and that would be, even before that, that would be Syria, the Syrian regime, Bashar Assad, and the use of chemical weapons. George Will, libertarian-minded, Washington Post columnist, outstanding writer and commentator, no doubt agree or disagree with the man. But he made a very interesting observation regarding the red line that President Obama has put out with Syria and the belief in the international community. And then he highlighted at the end of the clip the importance of messaging because somebody's watching. Roll it.
And our military is rightly leery of making a gesture. They're not in the gesture business. And they have a feeling that's what they would be doing, lobbing cruise missiles, these standoff weapons, into a country to make what, us feel good or look good? The president on CNN this week said, the use of gas is going to require America's attention and hopefully the entire international community's attention. Now, some people believe in the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the Loch Ness Monster. Others believe in the international community. It's a fiction.
But isn't there a credibility question, though?
Iran is watching this. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
Iran is watching this little dance of dead lines and red lines, and they're deciding it doesn't mean a thing.
Interesting when the world community, like 17 UN resolutions and a whole host of human rights atrocities, violations. I'm speaking to Iraq. Interesting, because I do want to put that in context to Syria and the arguments that are being made today and the possible military intervention. That all said, our Secretary of State, John Kerry, spoke to the issue of the use of chemical weapons, and he says, hey, America, world, It's undeniable that they've been used. Here is Secretary of State John Kerry earlier today. Roll it.
What we saw in Syria last week should shock the conscience of the world. It defies any code of morality. Let me be clear. The indiscriminate slaughter of civilians, the killing of women and children and innocent bystanders by chemical weapons is a moral obscenity. By any standard, it is inexcusable, and despite the excuses and equivocation that some have manufactured, it is undeniable.
Now, Secretary of State Kerry, after opening with that, moved to the consequences and the need for consequences and the reasoning behind President Obama's speaking to consequences and the red line. Roll it.
This is about the large-scale, indiscriminate use of weapons that the civilized world long ago decided must never be used at all, a conviction shared even by countries that agree on little else. There is a clear reason that the world has banned entirely the use of chemical weapons. There is a reason the international community has set a clear standard and why many countries have taken major steps to eradicate these weapons. There is a reason why President Obama has made it such a priority to stop the proliferation of these weapons and lock them down where they do exist. There is a reason why President Obama has made clear to the Assad regime that this international norm cannot be violated without consequences.
And it goes to how will those consequences play out? And is it going to be a symbolic gesture of military force, which is insulting and flat out wrong to do in so many respects, but our military, first and foremost, and our national security, symbolic use of military force, not the right way to go. That said, Senator Kerry seemed to be a little frustrated with the Syrian regime because they're just not cooperating. Roll it.
At every turn, the Syrian regime has failed to cooperate with the UN investigation, using it only to stall and to stymie the important effort to bring to light what happened in Damascus in the dead of night. And as Ban Ki-moon said last week, the UN investigation will not determine who used these chemical weapons, only whether such weapons were used. A judgment that is already clear to the world.
Okay, it's clear to the world. Ban Ki-moon is there and will have international support. I don't care really about the international support. We can talk to like-minded, like-valued countries, and that would be in the West. But the fact is, in general terms, the bottom line is President Obama said it was a red line. We've talked about it countless times. We have the use of these. Here's another question. Where did he get them? You see, history inevitably is a friend to those who tell the truth. And when it comes to the use of weapons of mass destruction and where they come from, as well as an international community not stepping up, oh, gee, really? That's happening? How would you like the UN, excuse me, I shouldn't even ask that because with some treaties, we may see that. Bottom line, the enforcement of the red line, how will it look? We're going to ask Ryan Morrow. He is the national security analyst for the Clarion Project, clarionproject.org. Then at the bottom of the hour, we'll speak to the issue of the commemoration, 50 years of the I Have a Dream speech. And then your phone calls. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. On the flip side, Ryan Morrow, Clarion Project, national security analyst, joins us. AFR Talk.